was ripe with upsets in the NFC, including the 49ers losing in Minnesota as 3.5-point favorites. San Francisco has lost 8 straight in Minnesota, last won there in 92. The Bucs went to Detroit and won a rematch of the divisional round of last season's playoffs. Tampa was a 7.5-point underdog, making it the team's largest upset in 5 years. The Cowboys demolished by the Saints at home, snapping their 16-game regular season home winning streak. Dallas lost by 25, despite being a 6.5-point favorite. And then there's the Eagles. Cap the week with a home loss to the Falcons as 5.5-point favorites. Team favored by at least 5.5 points this season are 1-9 against the spread. Keeping us on our toes and folks losing money. That's for sure. All right, Jeff, Saturday, lots of top teams in the NFC coming away with losses in week 2. Obviously, which team do you trust the most in the NFC?
This is a tough one for me. I'm going between 49ers and Lions, and I know both lost. I'm gonna go with the Niners, and
Okay.
I'll just say, I know I predict them to take a little step back from last year, but I still think this is a loaded football team. I think that the McCaffrey injury makes me nervous. For the longevity of it. You know, usually a Shanahan, I'm going back to his dad when Shannon played with him, they're usually pretty good about replacing. The Deebo Samuel one really concerns me now, even a couple weeks. But I still feel like until you knock them off the perch, this is a team that's been there, 4 out of 5 years? They just find ways to win. They can be grimy. They can be explosive. I just have a lot. But they and the Lions, to me, are the two that I would put 1A and 1B. I'm going to lean towards the 49ers still, though.
Believe it or not, I'm going to tell you it's the New Orleans Saints at this particular moment in time. I'm looking at San Francisco with McCaffrey and Deebo both hurt. I'm looking at the Philadelphia Eagles with a huge bunch of question marks. I'm looking at Detroit, who just lost to Tampa. And even when they won and beat LA the first week, we saw what happened to LA the second week against Arizona. Meanwhile, I'm looking at a Saints team that's 2-0. I'm looking at a quarterback in Derek Carr that's leading the NFL with a 142 passer rating. I'm looking at a guy like Alvin Kamara that's got 198 yards rushing on 35 carries in his first 2 games, not to mention the nearly 100 receiving yards that he's accumulated. I'm looking at Olave and Shaheed and what they can do at the wideout spot. I'm looking at a defense that shows up and they're getting physical. I'm looking at an offense that's physical as well. And running game, there's 2 things that travel. We always talk about that. Y'all have taught me this. Defense and a running game. Those are the 2 things that travel. Last time I checked, the New Orleans Saints have both. And so when I'm looking at that, based on what we've seen thus far, again, it can change. But I can't rule out the possibility that the Saints can make some noise and that at this particular moment in time, they're trustworthy. Of course, Derek Carr's in his 12th season. He has only been to the playoffs once and didn't win that playoff game. We get that part. But the bottom line is, in terms of what you're doing during the regular season and what we're seeing when it comes to the word trust, I think that New Orleans is giving you a reason to trust them more than most.
I'm going to agree with Saturday. I think it's the 49ers. I think if everybody is healthy, I'm talking about A.J. Brown comes back to the Eagles, everybody is healthy, I still trust the 49ers. You get Deebo back, and I'm assuming Deebo's going to come back sooner than later. Christian McCaffrey, that's another thing. It says it might be anywhere between 4 and 6 weeks. I believe that the 49ers, their talent, their roster, offense, defense, both lines can dominate, notwithstanding what we saw Minnesota do to the 49ers offensive line when they went to Minnesota. I still trust the 49ers and Kyle Shanahan play calling. Now, I do believe the Saints have closed the distance. They've shown with the way the physicality in which their offensive line played Sunday. And look, I ain't mentioned Carolina. Ain't no sense enough to mention Carolina. Let's just talk about what the Saints did to the Cowboys. Carolina, everybody's been doing that to Carolina. But the way their offensive and defensive lines can dominate, the way they can run the football with Alvin Kamara, and we know Derek Carr has spurts in which he can play like an MVP. He's done it before. We've seen it before. I think he's in a situation now that he has D.A. Dennis Allen that believes in him. He has teammates that believe in him. And so they're going to be formidable. But all things being equal, if everybody's healthy, I like the 49ers.
Well, a couple of things. Number one, I want to point this out quickly about the Carolina Panthers. There's 32 teams in the NFL. One could easily argue there's 31. They ain't even an NFL team. You got guys there that don't need. Listen, and I'm not disrespecting them, Jeff Saturday, as individual players. I'm saying collectively as a team, and I'm very serious when I say this, they're walking onto the field looking demoralized before opening tip-off. They don't seem there. Now, it could be ownership and what we articulated and trickling on down from there and how the entire environment has been contaminated. And you just got guys there collecting a paycheck trying to get the hell up out of there because they know it's a dire situation to be in. But I think it's that bad in Carolina. Hopefully Andy Dalton can turn it around. As it pertains to what I said about New Orleans, keep this in mind, y'all. Their starters, their starting offense, has scored on 15 straight possessions to start the season. 15 straight. I can't ignore that.
Oh, they're rolling.
Yeah,
they're rolling. Give them credit. They're rolling.
Yeah, I would say the Saints are. The only concern I had about the Saints going into the season was their O-line, which now looks like they are knocking folks around the way they treated Dallas.
Strength.
I just got to see that be consistent as we continue to progress through the season, right? We've seen Detroit do it last season, finish it out. If they make some different decisions, they may go to the Super Bowl last year. And then also you see it. Oh. Nice.
There we go.
Family.
Can we get Carmen a mic?
No, you're not getting her a mic. She waved high. It's my sister,
I'd like
Carmen.
her
She
to give
waved high.
her quick take from earlier. No, but Jeff, back to
They
your
can't
point.
see you. They can't
Carmen,
see you.
I miss you. Giving you a big hug.
You.
I don't know if she can hear me.
They miss you very much, Shannon and Sergeant Friday and Molly. They miss you very, very
She
much.
looks great.
Hey, Carmen.
Bye.
You already have them leapfrogging the Lions and the Eagles just based on this week. I mean, the Lions, obviously, I know lost to the Bucs, but it was a 4-point loss. And then I know the Eagles, it was, the Falcons. It was a major underdogs, but still.
Well, it's just shocking to me, Molly, how awesome they've looked offensively. How efficient they've looked, how physical they've looked. I mean, when you look at the Philadelphia Eagles and such huge question marks on the defensive side of the ball, when you look at the Detroit Lions and how they don't seem better than they were last year. They're still formidable. They'll clean it up. I believe in Dan Campbell. But when you look at New Orleans, this is a team, that we sort of written off since they've lost Drew Brees.
Yeah.
What they're saying to you is that we've got some weapons on this squad. And now we've got a quarterback that we believe is better than average. We can do some things because you look at the personnel around Derek Carr, and there's a lot to be said about it.
Let me just say this real quick about them. Kubiak, their new offensive coordinator, had an insanely good plan against the Cowboys. Insane.
Absolutely.
Similar to how San Fran
Kubiak's son.
lit them up. Had the same type of plan that San Fran had week one, dialed in, knew every weakness they needed to go and get after on the Cowboys. He took full advantage. That was a great game.
Let me get to the injuries real quick. So obviously some shocking losses in the games, but there's also been shocking losses on the field in terms of injuries announced in the last few days. So Chiefs running back Isaiah Pacheco will be out 6 to 8 weeks, a fractured fibula. Cooper Kupp headed to the IR. Debo Samuel and A.J. Brown week to week. S.A., who will be the most missed playmaker?
I think it's going to be A.J. Brown because I think the absence of A.J. Brown puts Jalen Hurts in a position to rely not just on Barkley but Devontae Smith even more so, and that puts immense pressure on him. And I think that's the reason why. I think with Pacheco out, you still got Mahomes. So I'm looking at it and I'm saying A.J. Brown is the biggest, is the most missed playmaker.
Okay.
I'm going Isaiah Pacheco. For the simple fact, if you go back and look at Kansas City, the last half of last year in the Super Bowl in the first start now, they relied heavily on the running game. And because now you're already without Hollywood Brown, so you're missing a deep threat playmaker. And so now who's going to run the football? They're looking at Kareem Hunt. Maybe they go re-sign Jet McKinnon and bring him back. But they're devoid of guys at the running back position. So that's why this injury to Pacheco hurts even more, because they want to run the football and take some of the pressure off of Patrick Mahomes and that offensive line.
Yeah, I agree with Shannon. Pacheco, the style and intensity with which he runs sets the tempo for this Chiefs offense. And that is not to take away anything from Patrick Mahomes. We know he is the best player in football. But Pacheco's attitude, he runs angry. He makes some big plays. And whether you like it or not, we talk about Andy Reid. As the season usually progresses, they lean more and more to the run game. So you're talking about 6 and 8 weeks. That's a long time to miss that type of player for the Chiefs. So I'm going Pacheco as well.